So again, my name is Erin, and welcome to the Food Technology Information Session. There are actually two Erins on here. There's me, who is facilitating this, and then ERIN FRIESEN, who's our program head for food technology. She'll still be giving you way more information about the program after I stop talking. We also have Jesse Taylor on, who will be giving us all our program advising information, which basically means he'll be giving information on how to apply and how to get in and what to do with all the documents that you need to submit and that kind of stuff, all the details. So let's get started here. I firstly want to say that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. So our agenda for this, I guess it's afternoon still, this afternoon is a welcome and introductions, which I'm doing right now. And then we're going to watch a little video that we put together about food technology. We'll have our presentation and program overview, program advising, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A. So if during the presentation you could stay on mute, if your camera's on, camera's off, that's totally your choice, but you could stay on mute so that we don't get any background interference, that would be great. And then at the Q&A section, you can either type your question into the chat or you can unmute yourself since we're a smaller group today and simply ask your questions. We're happy to answer any questions you have about the program or about BCIT or the career fields. So here is ERIN FRIESEN, and she, I think, is going to do a quick poll with us. ERIN?
All right. Thank you very much, Erin, and thank you everyone for attending. As Erin, the other Erin mentioned, I'm ERIN FRIESEN, the program head for food technology. And just before we get into what food technology is, I have a poll question that I want to throw to the group and see what you guys think food technology is. So all of these are things a food technologist may do, except, so one of these answers is something a food technologist might not do. So would a food technologist develop a vegan cream cheese? Would they measure vitamin C levels in orange juice? Would they recommend a diet for elderly patients with diabetes? And would they inspect a pasta manufacturing facility? So all of these are potentially things you might do, except one of them is something you may not do.
Since we're a small group today, I want everybody to weigh in. So Jesse, Jennifer, that means you too. We vote on your options here. Ooh. Share results. And are we right, Erin?
Yes, so that's something that a food technologist would not do. And I see in the chat group, somebody was not able to see the question, but we'll assume you were able to answer the same thing. So just talking a little bit more about what a food technologist does. So one of the jobs you may get is a R&D, which is research and development. So you may develop new products. And so there is a company in Vancouver that develops vegan products. And so you could be on that research and development team developing new products. We also teach students how to measure nutrients so that you can develop that nutrient facts table on foods. So any food that's sold has to have that nutritional facts table, and we show you how you can analyze the nutrients in them. So we do talk about nutrients from a standpoint of what's in food, but what we don't do is we don't talk about how those nutrients might affect you from a health standpoint. That is nutrition. And so nutrition would be a program in another school, which we don't teach here at BCIT. So this one, that's not something you'd be doing. You don't make diet recommendations for patients. But another thing you might do is you could be working in a plant and you could be inspecting the facility to make sure that they're using food safe procedures. So in my background here, it looks like I'm in an orange juice facility. So this is a typical facility that you might end up working in. And a food technologist would be taking orange juice bottles from the production line, potentially testing them for vitamin C levels, checking the seals on them, making sure the bacteria count is low. So these are some things that you might be doing as a food technologist. Next slide.
So I believe the next slide is our video. So I'm going to share this video.
Great job.
We have been making wines, and today we finally get to bottle it and drink it and have different flavors that different groups made. I chose food tech because you get to learn everything about food, which is like so exciting. I love being at BCIT and being part of this program.
Basically, food technology helps students work with food manufacturers to make food that is safe to eat and is of high quality. So here at BCIT, we teach the food technology students how to develop and implement the food safety and quality systems that are going to run. And we also teach them the various test methods for supporting those food safety and quality programs. Students that graduate in food technology work with food safety programs, and so they're trained to develop and implement them. These are very significant programs now for the food industry, and so our students are really capable of carrying those programs on and expanding them.
At the packaging line, we have to make sure that the product is at its highest quality and also that we're producing at the most efficient rate. So I love my job because I get to control the quality of the product and to meet the highest standards. When I started in the food industry, I realized that what I learned in the program actually is what I'm going to do. So you're prepared for the job.
The best kind of student for food technology is somebody that really cares about food. So somebody that might like to experiment with food, producing it and working with it. Just being that close to the food that we're producing, it really makes you feel good about what you do for a living.
So that video there, if you weren't able to tell, that was actually filmed for the most part at BCIT. So when we saw the students making wine, that was in our lab here at BCIT. And they were analyzing the wine also here. And the other part of the video was from one of our previous grads who is working for Left Coast Naturals, I think was the name of the company. So what is food technology? So you can see here in the picture, one of the students is going to be measuring the texture of, it looks like it might be a dough ball is what she's measuring there. So food technology is making sure that the food that you are purchasing when you're at the grocery store is safe as well as high quality. So students will often end up with quality control or quality assurance jobs, or they could end up in research development, as well as they could become food inspectors. So is food technology for you? One of the things that I find quite interesting about food technology is that there's lots to learn, especially when you look at different foods. So you should be curious as well as fascinated by science. And we do learn about the various different sciences, so physics and chemistry, as well as biology. So we examine each one of those and then we learn how they apply to foods. You should be process oriented and accurate. You should be self-sufficient. Be able to work independently as well as part of a team, and be able to work under pressure. So do you have keen observation skills as well as manual dexterity? Next slide. So what do you need to get in? So at a minimum, the entry requirements is high school, and then we do require you to have a certain grade in English as well as math and in chemistry. You should have an aptitude for science because we are understanding how science applies to food, and an interest in learning more about food and how we make sure the food that we're eating is the best that it can be. All right, so program overview. Are you able to hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, so we're training students in the basics of food technology, and some of the courses you would be taking as part of this is food processing, quality control, food analysis, as well as food testing. And so that would include making food as well as then testing the food. It's a 2-year program, so it's a full-time program on campus at BCIT, which leads to a diploma. It's a combination of lectures and labs, and so you'll get both theory as well as hands-on experience. And then the last year of the program, we do an industry-sponsored project, which will actually be a year-long project. Well, you'll be working with a company in industry and solving a industry problem. Next slide. So career outlook, most of our grads will get jobs within 2 months of graduating. The types of companies that you could end up working for are small companies. So in British Columbia, there are quite a few small companies, or you can end up working for quite a big, large company like a dairy company such as Lucerne. So BCIT grads are working to support the safe food production as well as high quality foods. So you'll be getting both applied work experience in your field, and you'll get the knowledge and skills that employers are looking for. Next slide. So profile of our previous grads, one of the courses that you'll take at the program in BCIT is a research and development course. And so these are some students who graduated from, I think, about 4 years ago. And as part of their project, they developed a fermented chickpea product. And they competed in a national contest and I believe came third in the national contest. And then what they did was they took this product and actually launched their own company. So you may see Tempeh, which is a tempeh product, and it's sold in a variety of restaurants, as well as they sell it at a few grocery stores and at markets around Vancouver. So they are a successful, and we're proud of them for being able to take the idea that they took here at BCIT and create their own company with it. Next slide.
The next slide is actually Jessie. So Erin, thank you for that information. We're going to talk now to Jessie Taylor, who will tell us a bit more about how to get into the program. And then we will have time at the end to answer your questions. So Jessie, take it away.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Erin. So my name is Jessie Taylor. I work as one program advisor within a team of program advisors that are here to assist students with inquiries. And there's a number of different ways to contact us, but I'll go over that later. I'd like to go to the next slide and talk to you about entrance requirements. So Erin touched on this really briefly, but in case any of you haven't taken a look at the details on the program page, they do have what's outlined on the slide for reference there. So you do have to provide proof of English proficiency, as well as the minimum academically for 67% or a C+ level within English Studies 12 or First Peoples 12 or equivalent. As well, similarly, you do need 67% or a C+ level in Chemistry 11 or equivalent, and 67% in Pre-Calculus 12 for mathematics, or alternatively, a slightly higher level within the foundations of Math 12 at 73%. So take a look at those details on the program page. There are some equivalencies that can be referenced as well in the link below the requirements. This says read more about how to meet BCIT's entrance requirements. So details about upgrading, assessment testing, as well as equivalencies can be found there. Now let's go on to the next slide. So this slide, we're going to talk about start dates. So the food technology program is offered once a year in September, as is common with most programs at BCIT. And we would start our application process as of October 1st until the seats fill. So this program accepts on a first qualified basis. There's not a competitive factor to it. You simply have to apply early, prove the minimum requirements, and then secure your seat. Some of the qualities that the department has outlined that they're looking for to be successful within the program and or the profession or industry are things like strong communication skills. So having those proficiencies in speaking, listening, reading, and writing is ideal. You'll oftentimes be doing group work within your classes, so that's an important factor. Interest in analytical work. So there's very detailed work that's involved that requires those analytical skills within the program and as well the industry. Strong attention to detail. There's some very finite and minute things that are involved within food technology and quality assurance. So that's an important aspect as well. Strong decision-making and problem-solving skills. You're going to be tasked within the classroom setting to accomplish either group projects or individual projects. And so having that decision-making skill set and problem-solving skills is very important. And then, as I mentioned before, there's going to be a fair bit of teamwork, working with your instructors as well as your classmates. So having that people skill set, the soft skills, interpersonal skills is ideal as you get involved in those teams. Let's go on to the next slide here. So we're going to talk about the application process. So on the BCIT website at bcit.ca, you can actually scroll down and there's a link to apply to a full-time program. And so you can click through there as a starting point or from the program page. But your first step would usually be to review the entrance requirements on the food technology program page. And you can see there again the application processing dates, which I mentioned the previous slide. As well, you can proceed to upgrade where necessary, and again, reference that read more link that's below the requirements to see the upgrading options. Then you need to gather your documents. So we'll get you to grab your transcripts and anything else that you might feel is necessary, be it English assessment or otherwise. And we'll have you make sure that those documents are converted into a PDF file format. That way it can be uploaded as part of the online application process. And then you can proceed directly to bcit.ca/apply, or as I mentioned before, there's usually a link on the program page as well as the home page as well. And so that would be what you look at. After you've applied, the department will review the admissions department will review the application that you submitted online. So they'll check to see that you've got the academics covered. And then, as I mentioned, this program does accept applicants on a first qualified basis. So again, it's just a matter of proving those minimum requirements as they're outlined on the program page. And then once you've submitted that application, we do definitely appreciate your patience. There's usually a processing time of anywhere from potentially 2 to 6 weeks. Usually it's going to be within the 2 to 4 week time frame, but depends at what time you apply and how busy the admissions department is at that time. Let's go on to talk about laddering. So there's a number of different options that are available as you complete a diploma, such as food technology. So beyond that, there's usually other options such as Bachelor of Technology. So you've got the option to consider a program like Technology Management, which a lot of different people apply to from different programs that they've completed, both at BCIT and externally. You could also consider the Bachelor of Technology in Environmental Health. So there's usually about 10 to 15% of the graduates that pursue this route. And it's a great way to get into the public health industry. There's also external options such as a Bachelor of Science through Simon Fraser University or SFU, so biological science degree that usually you're looking at having a certain minimum GPA. So it's a good idea to discuss that with them if you consider that option. There's also food sciences through the University of British Columbia. So they'll assess applicants on an individual basis. Usually there's a couple of years in addition for those students that completed the food technology diploma at BCIT. And then there's potentially other options externally. So you could definitely do some research specific to that. We have had as well a Bachelor of Science in Food Technology and Operations Management. To my knowledge, it's presently under review. So I don't believe it's currently an option, but it's worthwhile checking back on to see if it comes back once it's been potentially updated or reviewed. Let's go on to talk about some of the supports at BCIT. So we want to make sure that while you're attending BCIT that you can maintain a balance in your life. So the Student Services Department is there to try and assist with that. Using the 8 dimensions model to make sure that your well-being is kept in check, making sure that you're intellectually supported, you're supported through occupational needs, physical, financial, psychological, environmental, spiritual, and social. So you can take a look at the details a bit further on the website at bcit.ca/student services. And let's go on to talk about the specific support departments. So one of the first one here that we've got listed is the BCIT Indigenous Services. It's actually changed its name to Indigenous Initiatives. So if you're looking for it on the website, you'll find it under that title. And so it's for those of an Indigenous background to ensure a smooth transition into the first year. So that department will offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. You can also reach out to the BCIT Financial Aid and Awards Department if you're looking at other sources of funding. So they have awards, scholarships, and bursaries that are available. There is specifically a President's Interest Award where selection is actually based not only on academic achievement, but also volunteer and community service. So that'd be worthwhile to look into. BCIT is also committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. So if you've been accepted to a program and believe you may need additional accommodation to be successful, I would encourage you to connect with the Accessibility Services Department. There's also student health services. So they have a clinic on campus in Burnaby, and it seems like we're going to be returning to campus in the fall. So that would be hopefully accessible at that time. A lot of the departments have been offering virtual services. So they'll care for you in the way of medical needs year round. And they're primarily, they have been offering phone and virtual appointments, but as I mentioned, I would expect more of these departments would be getting back to campus. There's also counseling and student development. So they're there to help enhance your educational performance and maximize your success as a student at BCIT. They're currently offering virtual and phone appointments, as I mentioned. And then finally, there's recreational services, which holds a special place in my heart because I love to go there and just play some soccer with some of the students and staff, go shoot some hoops. There's a lot of different classes that they have for yoga and otherwise, which they have been doing some through a virtual setting in some ways, so esports leagues. But it's a great way to escape the classroom setting, relieve some stress, and just be away from those studies for a brief period of time. And with that, let's go on to finding out more about how to contact us in program advising. So if you've got questions after today, I would certainly encourage you to reach out to us. You can give us a call Monday to Friday as indicated here. So Mondays and Fridays are in the mornings, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays in the afternoons, 1 till 3:30. And you do that by just contacting the main line. So here you can see the 1-800 number. Otherwise, it would be the same number, 604-434-1610. You can also email us your inquiry, and through the email process, you could also request a virtual appointment so that you can connect with us virtually and put a face to the individual that you're corresponding with. And yeah, we're able to answer questions on admissions, application process, different resources, success strategies, program schedules, and many other details as well. And definitely would recommend to take a look at our website at bcit.ca/advising. And sometimes the services can change throughout the year, especially over the summer. And I want to just quickly mention some of the social media options. If we can go into the next slide there, and thank you. So there's a lot of great different spots outside of the main website that you can reference details. We obviously watched the video near the start of this information session, which is great, but there's specifically a YouTube section for the BCIT School of Health Sciences. So that's a great spot to go and check out. Take a look at the different Instagram stories that come up from the Health Sciences Department. As well as we get back to campus, beyond the virtual information sessions that we've been having in abundance, some of the other options that are a little bit more generally on campus, so things like the tours or the spend a day, I would expect we're going to start to hopefully get back to that, if not in the fall, hopefully in the new year. And yeah, just keep your finger on the pulse by checking out those different social media options. And I think with that, we are on to the final section of questions and answers.
Thank you, Jesse. That was a lot of information, a little bit quickly. So I think some people are going to have some questions.
Yeah.
I know Jesse and Erin are both very enthusiastic about what they do, so we do kind of pack a lot of information in and get kind of enthused about this stuff. So any questions you guys have, I'm going to take a look at the chat and see if you're posting it in there. So yes, we'll start with one from Farhan. What are some average salary rates for food tech graduates post-graduation?
So BCIT surveys our grads once they graduate, and you'll find that the survey results posted on every single program. And as far as I remember, the last time this question was asked to our grads, it was an average of $17 an hour was the starting salary. So the salary does vary quite a bit, and that's due to the nature of the small companies as well as larger food companies. And some of the larger food companies will have a higher starting salary. But often with the larger companies, you don't get into the higher positions. So with a smaller company, you do have the opportunity to move more into management positions. So it does vary really depending on the company, but the average starting rate is $17 an hour.
I think that was done a little bit ago, though, too, before minimum wage was raised. So it might be higher now, too. And also, second part of your question, Farhan, was Will the slide deck be given to us after the session today? And the answer to that is yes. Will take us a few days though. We are gathering recordings from our sessions and slide decks and video links, and then we will email that out to everyone who registered at the email address you registered with. So you should see that probably early next week sometime is my hopeful guess. So you'll get that information so you can review it again. In the meantime, if you do have any further questions, you're also welcome to email ERIN FRIESEN directly or email program advising, where you'll get a hold of Jesse or one of his colleagues, and they are a wealth of information too. But if you have questions about the career, those are best for ERIN. So ask her those. Just going back to see if there's any other questions in here. Oh, Darren just keeps posting information for everybody.
If you have any questions later, please feel free to just email me and we can set up a Zoom call if you have specific questions. If you have questions about whether or not you have the right entry requirements, that's where you're going to want to contact program advising. And I apologize for my internet connection, which obviously has now caused my camera to also pause. So I'm sorry about that.
Farhan, you've raised your hand. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Yes, hi. I thought I used audio this time just for a change.
Sure, why not?
So I have two questions to ask. The first one is food technology like a rewarding career to get into? Like I'm just wondering like what kind of like after you get the job, like what kind of hierarchy is there in the jobs? Like for instance, how high can you climb in the ladder once you're in the career? And the other question is how I'm not a huge fan of chemistry personally. I'm more of like a physics, biology based person. So how heavy is the program on chemistry specifically?
Excellent question. So I'll answer, I guess, the easier one, which is the chemistry question. So students are now taking, we've removed one of the chemistry courses out of the program. So I think now you'll only be taking 2 chemistry classes and then 2 food analysis classes. So we teach you basic food chemistry, and then more so we're teaching you the food chemistry so you understand what's happening to food, what it goes through different processes and what happens to the carbohydrates and how, for example, starch might be changing when you're making bread. So it's more of an understanding of chemistry rather than an actual having to use chemistry on a day-to-day basis. And then going back to the career and outlook and career path, I personally really like food science, and I wish I knew about food science earlier in my education, because I was the type of person who liked science, but I didn't really understand where I wanted to apply science, and I kind of wanted to learn about all different fields of science. And so that's where I like how you get to learn and apply biology as well as physics into a particular item. And then every single food item is quite different. So even if you, for example, work in a fish processing plant and then move on to a bakery, there's tons of new things to learn as you switch into the different food companies, because every food gets processed in a different way. So it's a career where you're constantly going to be learning. And I would say it's also a career where people do move around a lot. So they do move from one company to another company. Part of that is to increase your salary. So you may find a higher salary as you move from one company to another company. And as far as the types of jobs, so we do see students get into management positions. So you could be managing the food safety program. Some of our students do get more into operations, so they could become production managers, so managing the staff who's on the production floor. Depending on the company, though, some companies do limit promotions to those students who have a bachelor's. So at the moment, this is a diploma program, so you may need to, if you're entering with a bachelor's, then you're fine because you already have a bachelor's. But if you don't have a bachelor's, certain companies may require you to have that bachelor's degree. And we do have options at BCIT for you to get that. And so that may be what's required for laddering up in the food companies. And another option too is I know it was mentioned by Jesse, you could get into environmental health. So you could become a inspector where you're inspecting food restaurants. As well, CFIA, if you have Canadian Food Inspection Agency, if you have a bachelor's degree, will hire you to become a food inspector. So you'd be inspecting different plants and making sure that each plant is manufacturing food in a safe manner. So I personally find it very rewarding. I know a lot of students find it very rewarding. I would say one of the cons, and I know I shouldn't be selling the cons, but one of the cons is that with food, you want to keep it at a low temperature, and food companies are often operating 24 hours a day. So the shifts can sometimes not be the greatest. And then also the environment, certain companies may have a colder environment to work in. So those are the cons in the food industry.
And also you can always be an owner of your own company, start your own company like the tempeh people did. There's that too.
I would say one of the positives too is all the food you get to eat. So not only while you're learning about food technology, but when you're working for a food company, getting to eat the food that they're manufacturing, because obviously you want to be sending out food that's high quality. So one of the jobs I had, I was working for Molson Breweries. And so every day at it was 11:15 in the morning, we had to sample all the beer that was produced the day before.
11:15, not even noon. Wow.
And right before lunch. Well, you want to eat, you want to taste right before you've eaten, because you don't want whatever's in your mouth to from your lunch to influence the taste of the product. So 11 o'clock was deemed to be the most appropriate time to eat, because you had your coffee long out of your system, your breakfast was out of your system, and so those things aren't going to be influencing the taste of the product.
Good to know.
That's very fascinating. Thank you so much. I have one follow-up question just regarding that. You mentioned bachelor's degree. So does that sort of involve, does that mean like any bachelor's degree, or does it have to be specifically related to those, the food technology for those laddering opportunities that you specified?
Another excellent question. So with CFIA, as far as I know, it doesn't matter what the bachelor's is. They just want you to have a bachelor's combined with food technology information. So we have a student who graduated from food technology, I think 5 years ago, and she had a bachelor's in language arts. But then because she went and did the 2-year diploma at BCIT in food technology, she now has a career at the Canadian Food Inspection Agency.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I think we'll end it there. Please do remember to send us emails with any questions you have, and to check your email early next week for a copy of the slide deck and a copy of the recording. So thank you all for attending.